God, this is why we should take such an interest in how each of us is developed, because we're the people who we're going to have to live with in the future, and then we're going to be the people who raise the next people who are going to have to live with each other in the world, and so forth. Maybe rather than pointing fingers at each other and calling each other's names and getting into fights, maybe we should work together, kindness and love. It's a possibility. I guess that's your choice. Or you want to play these stupid, silly-ass power games, which, by the way, are not backed up by your own power. They're backed up by the power of somebody else. Like when someone says, oh, I don't believe in violence. Violence is never the answer. If anybody in here believes violence is never the answer, please let me know. I'm going to come over and take your wallet and your purse and take all your money. No, I will not fight you. I will call the police. So you let somebody else do your fighting for you. So it's not that you don't believe in violence, it's that you believe in violence for somebody else because you're a weakling who has no claws. Happy Monday, huh? Anybody I have not pissed off yet? Oh, here we go. You said they're cowards and scum? Jeez, okay. So people who don't have claws are cowards and scum. Shit, okay. Shots fired. You think everybody has the ability to stand up for themselves? Yeah. Some capacity. You might lose, but you can stand up for yourself. Somebody out on the street and somebody puts a gun in your face and says, give me your wallet. You can say, no. You need to take the, you'll have to take my wallet off my cold, dead body.
Okay.
No. That's where you find out if they're willing or not. You find out if they're willing or not. I remember one time an old jiu-jitsu instructor of mine, he was very good, and he had me in an armbar, and he was like cranking it, and I said, you're going to have to break it. And he says, okay, so he cranks it more. And I refused to tap. I don't know why. I just was in the mood that day. And then he ended up letting it go, and then he went on and did something else. And afterwards, when he was talking to me, he just kind of goes like, he says, you're going to let me break your arm? I said, yeah. He's like, why? I go, I don't know, but I guess we found out who has the stronger will today, didn't we? I would never repeat that again, but that was, I don't know, for some reason that day was that day I was going to have my arm broken. Like anything else, like what can be used for defensive and what can be used for offensive. I guess, like cat's claws, murder mittens. They keep the claws away, but as soon as they need them, they come right out. Are those defensive weapons or are those offensive weapons? Yes. Yes. They can be used for both. And that's a big part of being defensive, is that people have to know that you're willing to be offensive, willing and able to be offensive. If that person puts a gun in your face and wants to steal your wallet and you say, you're going to have to kill me to take it, I guess you're going to find out how much will that person has. Are they willing to commit a murder to take whatever might be in your wallet? And are you willing to die for whatever might be in your wallet? Chances are it's probably not for you. It's not about the wallet. It's about the principle of it. For that person, it probably can quickly become that as well. Initially, it might be about the money. But after that, it might be about the challenge. This person thinks that they can challenge me like that, now I might become them. Now that's the thing they might be willing to murder for, even if they're not willing to murder for the $6 or whatever is in your wallet. And so there's something there that's really important. You have to be capable, of course, of defending yourself, but you also have to be willing. So some people are willing, but they're not capable. Some people are capable, but they're not willing. You've got to have both those two things together. And so when he's talking about weaklings here, he's certainly talking about people who don't have the capacity to defend themselves, or they think that they're good because they don't do anything offensive. The example I was using in a couple periods so far is like a little 85-pound beta cuck who sits there and is like, violence is never the answer. And then we're like, oh, golf clap for them because they're so virtuous. Well, no, because what would happen if they engaged in violence? They would die. Yeah, they would die. Now, does that mean that therefore you should walk around and beat everybody up? No, because we said it's also about having the capacity for violence and choosing not to do violence. But we should all have the capacity for it, and I suggest that most people do have the capacity for it. But the moment people find out that you don't have the capacity for it, then they're going to run you over. They're going to once you refuse to defend yourself, then there are people out there, not everybody, but there are people out there who are going to run you right over. Yeah.
I don't know what it's called, but this reminds me of something where this guy asks his sensei, how can he train him in deadly arts and still vouch for peace? The sensei says it's better to be a warrior in a garden versus a gardener in a war.
Absolutely. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is that we oftentimes think like, unless I can just fight everybody, there's no point in doing it. No, it isn't about winning every fight. Nobody wins every fight. Except for Habib. But other than him, nobody wins every single fight. He's retired now, so he's never going to lose. And Mayweather. Mayweather can win every single fight. But other than that, everybody loses at some point. I mean, you look at certain MMA fighters, and it's just like, they're 25-8, and people are like, oh, dude, that record though, man, 25-8, it's really good for MMA, high-level MMA. But that's still 8 losses. That's 8 people who caught them. Maybe the other person wasn't a better fighter, but they caught him. It happens sometimes. So it isn't about being able to fight every single person, but what it might be about is that it should cost everybody something if they attack you. Even if they're going to ultimately win, they should limp away or something. Yeah.
This quote reminds me of another quote. It's about, I think it's Placido. It's talking about
you alluded to it in what you were saying.
Scholars.
The society that separates its warriors from its scholars will have its fighting done by fools and its thinking done by cowards. Yeah, and this is true. It is true. We separate these things out so much. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to just train for every fight, be in the gym 7 to 8 days a week. Yes, I said 8 days a week. Getting ready for the fight because that fight may never happen, and there's other things in life that are worth living for. But think about the things in your life that are worth living for. Your family's worth living for. So if they're worth living for, is your family worth fighting for? Then you have to have the capacity to do it. You have an obligation to do it. Someday if you're going to have children, are your children worth fighting for? Then you have to have the capacity to fight for your children. It's not just I'm willing to, it's that you have to have the capacity for it. Yeah.
That is like parts of what you are as men. I think I'd rather be a toxic young than a woman.
Is there toxic masculinity? Of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Now that we've acknowledged that, are we ready to have a conversation about toxic femininity as well? Or are we just supposed to, how could you possibly say, that right there is a manifestation of toxic femininity. I'm ready to fight. Are you really? Let's fight. Well, no. Oh my God, no. Oh, using manipulation tactics. That's toxic femininity. Using manipulation, using deceit, using guile. These are all aspects of it. Well, I know, you're not supposed to say that. Why? Because you're not supposed to attack us. Oh, more toxic femininity. See it manifesting. This is a problem. What do you think is going to happen? You think that, so let me get this straight. The sexes are equal, but one sex is more equal than the other. Okay. This, of course, makes no sense. An example I was using was, this is years ago when I lived in Los Angeles. I was outside of my band had played it. We were outside of a club, and there was a girl, and I don't remember why she was mad. She was mad about something. I just don't remember why. She was about like 5'1", just a friend of mine, well, somebody I knew anyway. And she was in my face, yelling and screaming. I was talking to somebody else about something, and she came running over and got involved and got right in my face and started screaming at me. Just running her mouth with her hands all balled up. And then, as I'm standing there, I just kind of gave her one look and then looked past her because she wasn't, the object of what was going on. And then, as I stand there, she then starts yelling and screaming, "Oh, you get in females' faces now? You want to get in a woman's face?" It's like, I didn't move. I was standing right there on Sunset Boulevard talking to somebody. She's the one who came running up. There's an aspect of toxic femininity. Look at me, I'm the victim. There's a man in my face. I didn't say shit. I was standing right there. And then a friend of mine came over. He's actually friends with both of us. And he goes to come between us, and he puts his hand on my stomach, and he kind of like, "Hey, Scallon, chill." There's more expression there, because now what he's basically saying is she's too emotional. She can't control herself. So therefore, you have to control yourself. There's an aspect of toxic masculinity, thinking that she's lesser than, so therefore we have to accept the fact that she's lesser than, and that she's dominated by her emotions. So as he put his hand on me to try to push me back, I looked at him and I said, so-and-so, take your hand off me, bro. I only give you one warning. What was going to happen if he didn't take his hand off of me?
Beat his ass.
Yes, I was going to smash him in the face with an elbow and break his nose. This is what I had planned in my head. And it would have happened so fast, he never would have seen it coming, before he even knew he was in a fight. But he started it by coming over and doing that. What do you suppose he did? Took his hand off of me. Because he understood something that we understand intuitively, not even intuitively, we understand through learning, social learning, that when someone says that, and you're the one who's escalated it, when that person has now decided they're going to match you, you've got a decision to make. He has no idea what's going to come, he just knows that it's going to be violence, because he's encountered violence before, because he's a dude and he's gotten in lots of fights in his life. So he understood that this was a challenge to a fight. So he took his hand down, he backed off, and that was it. Why do you suppose the girl was in my face, yelling and screaming, all 5'1" of her? Because she had never been punched in the face by a man before. It was something that she knew nothing about. And so was she brave for doing that? No, she was naive. She was inexperienced. She was not brave. She just didn't know what she was up against. What's the best thing that she possibly could have done in a fight like that? By the way, this isn't a Marvel movie. This isn't television, where fuck physics, right? At 5'1", she can be a very compliant, 6'2" stuntman. This is real life. What is she possibly going to be able to accomplish against me? Nothing. Nothing. It's not that she was brave. It was that she was confident that social standards being what they were, I wasn't just going to break her nose. That's all it was. So was she brave? No, I laughed. It was funny, because nothing there was going to happen. No. We come across people like this all the time. I understand some of you, I love your faces right now. You're horrified by this. You would hit a woman? Equal rights, right? And lefts, and headbutts, and... Would I punch her as much as I would punch a guy who was 5'1" in my face the same way? Of course. But then again, if you don't want that to happen to you, maybe you shouldn't behave that way. Maybe when we start to do stuff like say, oh, all men are toxic and women are victims, well then maybe we kind of give the okay for women to behave like that. And then surprise, surprise, what's happened to violence against women in our society? It has skyrocketed. Why? Because we're telling people it's okay to do shit like that. And then you get punched in the face, and then we're surprised by this. Well, of course you get punched in the face. You've just told a generation of people that there's no difference between men and women, and that it's okay to behave this way, so then what's going to happen? Well, you're going to get punched in the face. This is why we see videos of this kind of stuff all the time. Way more than we ever did in the past. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. So, absolutely, I'm more than happy to have a conversation about toxic masculinity, which absolutely exists, as long as we're also willing to have a conversation about toxic femininity, which absolutely exists. And maybe rather than pointing fingers at each other and calling each other toxic, we should work together because we live here together. We have to get along somehow. And I guess that begs the question about what kind of men do you want? What kind of women do you want? Do you want men who get yelled at and screamed at and just cower away? Is that really what you want? Do you want women who just yell and scream at people and do a lot of these like big gesture movements and think nothing's going to happen to them? Do you really want that in your life? My God, imagine what happens when you bring a cheeseburger home and it has onions and there weren't supposed to be onions on it. You don't think that kind of stuff spirals? My God. This is why we should take such an interest in how each of us is developed. Because we're the people who we're going to have to live with in the future. And then we're going to be the people who raise the next people who are going to have to live with each other in the world. And so forth. Maybe rather than pointing fingers at each other and calling each other's names and getting into fights, maybe we should work together, kindness and love. It's a possibility. I guess that's your choice. Or you want to play these stupid, silly-ass power games, which, by the way, are not backed up by your own power. They're backed up by the power of somebody else. Like when someone says, oh, I don't believe in violence. Violence is never the answer. If anybody in here believes violence is never the answer, please let me know. I'm going to come over and take your wallet and your purse and take all your money. And you won't fight me, right? Because violence is never the answer. No, I will not fight you. I will call the police. So you let somebody else do your fighting for you. So it's not that you don't believe in violence, it's that you believe in violence for somebody else because you're a weakling who has no claws. I understand. Got it. I got it. Notice Nietzsche's response, by the way. He laughs because they think that they're good. I'm good. Like Einstein you mentioned. He was a pacifist. Violence is never the answer. We're like, And then the Nazis start rampaging all over Europe, or as you said, the Nazis roll up. And all of a sudden it's like, we need a nuclear bomb. And by the way, he didn't just advocate for the development of it, he advocated the use of it. So we need to drop this thing. And then we dropped it, and then he's like, this was terrible. Why did we drop it? Dude, you wrote a letter to you signed a letter to the president saying that we should. I was wrong. We shouldn't have done that. Yeah. Everybody has morals until fill in the blank, until something happens, whatever they are, whatever it is. And so, there we go. Happy Monday, huh? Anybody I have not pissed off yet?
I'm good.
Oh,
Check out the boxes.
I started checking out all my boxes. All right, go ahead and, go ahead and put those away.